What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Today, I want to talk to you about New Mutants: Dead Souls. This is a 6-issue miniseries written by Matthew Rosenberg with art by Adam Gorham. And I did not care for this, and I hate to say that because I was really looking forward to reading this. I like the New Mutants as a team. I always enjoy seeing attempts to try and bring them back together. The series ended in 1990 or 1991, and all the characters kind of went their separate ways and moved on to other superhero teams or other aspects of superherodom. For example, Karma and Danielle Moonstar were kind of teachers for a little while. So I always think it's interesting to try and see different creative teams, bring them back together, and see what the rationale in universe is for bringing them together. And I will go ahead and give this book a positive. I think that the idea here is kind of interesting. Karma, she is in charge of her own corporation. We saw that happen in the Astonishing X-Men series when she was part of that run, and she has her own corporation that her sister, I think, had put together, and then she inherited it from her, and she is dispatching some of her old friends to investigate paranormal stuff. So I thought them kind of being employed by Karma and her company was an interesting idea. And looking at this cover, I really like that cover. That's by Ryan Stegman. Love his art. He's mostly known for Venom, I think, but I thought this was a really interesting team lineup. You've got characters who have worked together in other teams, but none of these guys have all worked together in this capacity. So you have Strong Guy, Rain Sinclair, or Wolfsbane, and Richter. They were all part of X Factor Investigations. That was the really long-running X Factor series by Peter David. And then you have Illyana Rasputin and Wolfsbane. They were long-standing members of the New Mutants. Wolfsbane, I think, was a member of the team almost throughout the entire New Mutants run, the original series. And then Illyana, she was not part of it throughout the entire series, but a good chunk of it. I would say almost half of the series she was a member of the team. And then you had Richter and Boom Boom. They were later additions to the team. Originally, they were heavily featured in X Factor. They were the exterminators, the kids that X Factor were kind of fostering for a little while. And then later, they joined the New Mutants in Louise Simonson's run. And then Strong Guy has never been affiliated with the New Mutants. I believe he first appeared in an issue of New Mutants. He was Lila Cheney's bodyguard, but he was never part of a New Mutants team. In fact, whenever you see Strong Guy, he looks like he's in his 50s or 60s. I don't know how old he's actually supposed to be. For all I know, this is kind of like Charles Xavier and Magneto, where one of them's bald and one of them has silver hair, and you're thinking that they're in their 60s, but they're actually much younger than that. Maybe this is something kind of like that. So Strong Guy might be much closer to the age of everyone else in this team, but I've always assumed that he was quite a bit older than most of the other X characters that he generally works with. So I thought that this team lineup looked really cool, and then in the opening pages of the issue, you find out that Illyana Rasputin is actually leading this team. I thought that was really interesting. She is not a character that I would have labeled as a leader, but then looking at this team, yeah, she's probably the closest one to being a leader out of everyone here. So I thought it was interesting to kind of explore that. I do not care for the way Adam Gorham draws Illyana Rasputin. She doesn't have eyebrows, or if she does, they're very, very small, and she looks really weird and creepy, and I get it, Illyana is supposed to be weird and creepy, but show that through her actions. Don't make her look weird. Every other character in the series has eyebrows, so that was something that jumped out to me every time she was on the page. I thought that was a really odd design choice. I've never seen her drawn like that by anyone else, and there are several alternate covers, and this cover right here even, she doesn't look like that. So I thought that was a little weird and kind of off-putting for me. Other people might not have a problem with that, but anyway, what did I not like about this? So basically, the premise is Karma, she is employing this team to go and investigate paranormal stuff, and it turns out in Karma's very first appearance, which was Marvel Team Up issue 100, her twin brother, I think, it was either her twin brother or her older brother, I think it's her twin brother, he had a similar power to her, and he was working for their uncle, and was pretty much just pure evil. And then he was using his possession powers for their uncle, who's a crime lord, and then eventually Karma had to kill him, and then according to this, he then possessed her, and his spirit has been in her body this entire time. Now, that doesn't really work. If you go back and look at any appearance of Karma over the last 30 years, she has not acted like she has her evil brother inside her influencing her. But this is acting like she just feels lost if her brother is not inside her. Please don't take that out of context. And so he somehow escapes her body. It's not really made clear how that happens. And then she is sending Ilyana and her team to look at all these different paranormal incidents that she thinks might be the result of her brother doing stuff. And again, that doesn't work because you look at any appearance of Karma, she's not acting like she's being corrupted by her brother. In fact, I was surprised to hear that her brother was inside her. Again, don't take that out of context because they never mentioned that in the New Mutants series. I have read Marvel Team Up issue 100, but it has been a very long time, and I did not remember any of her, I guess, absorbing her brother after she killed him. So that was a weird plot point, but it kind of is necessary for the entire plot of this miniseries to happen. And you don't find out a lot of that until the last half of the miniseries. You don't even find out that Tran, that's his name, you don't find out that he is even the bad guy of the book until like issue 3, I think. But anyway, it turns out that Karma is kind of a supervillain in this book, and I hate that. I don't like that. You go back and look at the New Mutants issues that Karma was in, and she was not a very long-standing member of the team. She was there from the beginning, and then pretty early on in that series, she ended up leaving because her younger siblings had been kidnapped, I think, and she ended up appearing a little bit in the Solo Wolverine series very early on for like one storyline because she was working for her uncle trying to find out where her younger siblings were. But anyway, she wasn't part of the New Mutants for the entire series. But when you look at her appearances, she was in some ways one of the most innocent members of the team. She had gone through some awful stuff. She was born in Vietnam, and she was introduced in I want to say 1980 or a little earlier because New Mutants started in 1980 and she was introduced before that series began. But she was living in Vietnam. I'm pretty sure in her origin story you find out that she was raped. So some awful stuff. She was forced to kill her brother. She had to go through some awful stuff, but even keeping all of that in mind, she was not the kind of character who I would have said, if anyone here is going to go through a supervillain heel face turn, it's going to be her. It just does not feel right for Karma to basically be an evil mustache-twirling supervillain here. And I feel like part of that is she's a big businesswoman. She owns a giant corporation. Business people have to be evil, right? Couldn't we just once have a business person who isn't evil? Sure, you've got characters like Iron Man and Batman, but neither one of them are super involved in the running of their companies. Batman especially, in most of the stuff I read, he comes in for a quick meeting and then leaves, and the running of the company is left to someone like Lucius Fox. Admittedly, I don't read a whole lot of Iron Man, but if he's busy doing solo superhero stuff and he's an Avenger, he surely doesn't have enough time to also be running a company full-time. So those guys I don't really think count, but did we really have to turn Karma into a evil supervillain? And she's doing some really shady stuff because eventually her brother jumps back in her, and then he does some stuff trying to sell some stuff to some general that doesn't even appear in this book, and apparently he was part of the Astonishing X-Men series, the most recent Astonishing X-Men series. I haven't read that storyline, so I don't know anything about that character that he calls on the phone. But anyway, even before Tran repossesses Karma, she's still doing some really shady stuff that is borderline supervillainous. So anyway, you've also got this story is a huge cliffhanger. It ends with all of the team getting infected by the transmode virus because for the first 5 issues of this miniseries, at the end of each issue, there's a little subplot where there's this kid, he's getting beat up because these kids think that he's a mutant, and they say, well, you can prove that you're not a mutant. You can go to that haunted house in the woods and ask the Alone Man if you're a mutant, and he will confirm if you are or are not. So he goes, and we find out that the Alone Man is Warlock of the New Mutants. And then he says, hey, I just want to be your friends. And then this kid, he's like, no, leave me alone. And then he ends up sending out some energy and seemingly kills Warlock, and then he goes home, and then he is infected by Warlock. Warlock, his whole thing was he could infect you with the transmode virus. He could also join and be part of you and then separate himself. He did that with Doug Ramsey's Cipher of the New Mutants, but if he did it, the more he would touch you, the more likely you were to be infected by the transmode virus, and then you would become basically this living machine creature. And so Warlock has apparently infected this kid. He blows up his house with him and his mom inside, and then we find out that that whole subplot happened like 3 months ago, because in the last issue we see Danielle Moonstar investigating this house, or it's either the house or it's where the kid first attacked Warlock, and then she is infected by Warlock, and then we find out that she has been working for Karma this whole time, and Karma has had Warlock create a whole bunch of robot facsimiles of the New Mutants, and then the entire team gets infected by the transmode virus, and then it says the end, question mark, and whenever you have a mini-series, I do not want it to end on a cliffhanger. I should not have to do homework to figure out where the rest of this story is going to be wrapped up. Apparently, this is going to be wrapped up in Matthew Rosenberg's Uncanny X-Men run. I have not read that. I've heard nothing but bad things about his Uncanny X-Men run. I'm curious if the people who said a lot of bad things about that run, if they were aware of this New Mutants miniseries, or if they were just reading Uncanny X-Men because they like the X-Men, but they don't necessarily want to read every X-Men book, and then there's this subplot where the New Mutants have been possessed by the transmode virus, and what the heck is this? What's going on here? I'm curious if the people who really did not like that Uncanny X-Men run, if this had anything to do with that, not being aware that this miniseries kind of left some dangling plot threads that were resolved in that. I don't like that if I want to see what happens next, that I have to go and read that Uncanny X-Men run. I probably will read that run someday, but I don't have it now, so I feel like this was a very empty and hollow experience. I do like some of the stuff that happened here, but overall, I feel like this just wasn't very rewarding. It feels like when you go and watch a movie and you pay the $10 for a movie ticket, and then they kick you out of the theater before you can finish watching the movie, and they tell you that you have to pay another $10 to watch the rest of the movie. That's what this feels like, and I don't like that. I do like some things that I do like, so that this is not an entirely negative review. I like some of the interactions between Wolfsbane and Strong Guy. They were together in the X Factor series by Peter David. I've read most of that series. The last 4 or 5 trade paperbacks are insanely expensive, and I didn't get them when they first came out, and now if you go on eBay, any one of those last 5 trade paperbacks are like $50, or maybe a little less, but I do not want to pay a couple $100 to get 5 trade paperbacks. I am a notorious cheapskate. I don't like spending that much money. I bought this used for like $7, so that's about what I like paying for a trade paperback. So seeing those last few volumes of X Factor be so expensive, I haven't read those. So I know that based on context clues provided in this miniseries, I know that Guido, Strong Guy, he had lost his soul. Long story short, that happened in the last volume that I did read, and then after that, Wolfsbane had a son with this Norse Asgardian werewolf prince creature. This all sounds ridiculous, and it is ridiculous, but anyway, she had this son, and then somehow he grew up, and then Strong Guy, without his soul, killed her son. So there is some tension here between Strong Guy and Wolfsbane. I liked seeing all of that. I like the inclusion of Richter and Shatterstar's relationship. That was touched on a little bit in the Shatterstar miniseries, but in that, it was implied that those two are no longer together, and here it seems that they are, or if they're not dating, then at the very least they are still really friendly with each other. So I don't know if Matthew Rosenberg was aware of what was going on, if this was a situation where the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing, but anyway, I wanted to like this book. I was really interested in seeing this particular team working together. Usually when you see the original New Mutants paired together once again, it's all of them. You have Danny Moonstar, Cannonball, Sunspot. Those guys were barely in this book. Danny Moonstar is in it a little bit. I don't think we even see the real Sunspot or Cannonball at all in this book, but I was interested in seeing some of the not main New Mutants being spotlighted a little bit, and unfortunately this book just did nothing for me. Because I am a huge X-Men fan, I will someday probably someday be reading what Matthew Rosenberg did in his Uncanny X-Men run. But for now, I have to say, if I wasn't a big X-Men fan, if I just bought this off the rack because I thought the cover looked cool, and I do think the cover looks really cool. I don't remember if I said that or not. But if I just bought this off the rack because I thought it looked cool, I would not be interested in seeing the conclusion of this. And I hate to say that. But anyway, those are my thoughts on this New Mutants series. I hope that you guys liked this review, and if you did, be sure to throw a comment in the comments. Say something like, hey, I liked it too, or no, I hated it, or something like that. But anyway, that's about it. I will see you guys in the future. Have a good one.